Okay, Dr. Lou Pulsfer here to answer the question, why design levels or adventures? Well, there's lots of reasons. Here's sort of a list. I'm going to talk about these individually, and they can range from personal pleasure up to trying to get a full-time job. Personal pleasure. This can be a creative outlet, just as writing novels can be a creative outlet. Designing games can be a creative outlet. Composing music can be a creative outlet. You may never expect to be professional about it. But nowadays you can distribute it for free via the internet, and you can perhaps enjoy compliments from those who use what you've made, even if you're not selling it. Though, of course, nowadays we have the misfortune that with the culture of free and the anonymity of the internet, a lot of people are very critical of things, even though they couldn't possibly do as well themselves. But of course, they don't try. They just say, oh yeah, I could do that, and then criticize other people. Fun for your friends. Well, they can play it. Whether it's a computer level or it's a adventure for a tabletop role-playing game, but of course then probably you're going to be the referee as well, and you can think of refereeing as a kind of gift to your friends because they're able to enjoy something and you're the one doing the work. Well, if you've made the level as well, you've done even more work, but then you can personalize it both to yourself and to them. But you may be interested in making money or perhaps even getting a job. Well, levels can be self-published. Tabletop game modules especially can be self-published via PDFs, and people are usually willing to pay a small amount to get hold of them. On a larger scale, level design is a path into the video game industry and into game design in the video game industry, and there are people, mostly in the video game side, with full-time jobs making this stuff. I have to say, however, that the state of the role-playing game tabletop market is not good. It's very poor. It collapsed years ago, essentially. There are lots of companies that used to publish lots of RPG stuff who wouldn't touch it now with a 10-foot pole. And that's because crowdsourcing has taken over. There are so many people who are willing to write this stuff very cheaply. And there are so many people who will write it and then test it and then publish it as a PDF that none of it can be sold for very much because there's so much of it. And consequently, writing RPG material is something that only gets you 2 to 5 cents a word, and it's work for hire. That is, you get paid and then you don't get royalties the way you would with a board game or a card game. So you can self-publish PDFs or publish on demand and make a few dollars in the RPG market, but there are very few openings full-time. In the video game business, shooters and action games and many other kinds of games require levels and level designers. And if you make really good levels, you might be able to find a full-time job. But even there, we had contractions recently in the video game industry. There are about as many people working on AAA console games now as there were several years ago. And so there are a lot of people whose jobs have gone away and they're looking for work and they have experience. And it's always tough to get a job when you're inexperienced and there are a lot of experienced people around. Now, if you want to know more about getting a job in the video game industry, I have a course, Get a Job in the Video Game Industry, that you can take if you wish, or you can try to find some books about it. So, there are lots of reasons, but the principles and the methods are the same, whatever your purpose may be, and that's what I'll be talking about in the class.